watching, what's happening all around the real estate world right now. And that's that whole thing about finally reaching a settlement. Of course, it still needs court approval. But what we are seeing is a different narrative coming from the media side, something that really surprised me. And I want to start off by just showing you. If we go into CNN, you get to see what CNN is talking about. The 6% commission on buying or selling a home is gone after Realtor Association agrees to seismic settlement. Now, here's the thing. There was never a 6% thing. It was never a set amount. So the narrative that we're watching happening here with news, obviously, besides making a big deal out of nothing, they do a great job of that. Here, if we want to focus in on what they think here, it says the agreement effectively will destroy the current home buying and selling business model in which seller pays both their broker and a buyer's broker, which critics say has driven housing prices artificially higher. And in reality, has that driven it higher? No. That's, again, the media does such a great job here, right? Like, that does not drive prices that way. Unbelievable. And this is what the consumer is reading. So remember that. CNN, here it is again. This will open up opportunities for alternative models of selling real estate that already exist but don't have much market share, including flat fee and discounted brokerages. And we all know, for the most part, what type of service that is, right? When it comes to anything discounted, listen, there's a reason that Apple charges the amount they do, because it's quality. Now we go into the Wall Street Journal. This is what they have to say. This article is terrible. It's short and it doesn't really provide much, but it says what to know about the new rules for buying and selling homes. This came out today. Here's really the gist of it. Under the current rules, let me see here. Under the current rules, buyers typically don't pay their own agents out of pocket. Going forward, under the new system, buyers might have to foot the bill if they want an agent to represent them. Now, just reading that, if I'm a buyer, I'd be concerned. I'm like, wait a second, well, I'm a first-time home buyer. Or I'm a buyer with little cash and I have to foot the bill here? So now you start thinking about the possible challenges that we have, which we'll talk about. Even though I don't feel like it's a massive deal, I do think things will change in reality. Now here, I want you to listen to the CEO of Redfin. Not a long one. I want you to listen for about a minute because the reporter actually asks a really good question. And here, bear with me on this one. Let me see if you're able to hear this. I'm going to turn it up on my end. And now this is it. It's on minute 133. He goes on for about a minute and then she asks her question. Here we go.
Glenn Kelman. Glenn, thanks so much for joining us. Give me your high-level thoughts on what this is going to mean going forward.
Well, Redfin has advocated for 18 years for lower commissions. So if this settlement leads to lower commissions where buyers decide how much to pay their own agent, that is good news. I think there are many details that we are still trying to parse. It's 108 pages. It was just released this morning. But the fundamental issue around cooperation between the buyer's agent and the seller's agent on fees is one that we've been focused on for a long time, and we think this can make a real difference in how this industry operates.
Now, Redfin has benefited because you have a flat commission that it's lower, and that's how you really market yourself. Is that correct? If you bring everybody else down into that playing field, does Redfin lose its edge?
I don't know if we want to say we're bringing people down.
But they are. I love that question. And yes, it's like, wait a second, what are we actually doing here? What just happened? And so going back to that Wall Street Journal one, saying, hey, by the way, we're removing this piece, buyers. So good luck. Figure it out. Now let's actually read what's going on, because we also have reality, right? And if we go to reality, I'm just going to go directly to the announcement that was made within NAR. So here's where it is. And I'm going to share it with you. I've highlighted the important pieces. There's a lot to this. So just know that this isn't the whole story. All right. Let me shift my camera so I can read it with you. You can see here, compensation offers moved off the MLS. And this is from NAR. It says NAR has agreed to put in place a new rule prohibiting offers of compensation on the MLS, any type of offer to the buyer. It says offers of compensation could continue, and I'm reading the yellow highlighted area, could continue to be an option consumers can pursue off MLS through negotiation and consultation with real estate professionals. And sellers can offer buyer concessions on the MLS. That's cool. Great. That didn't change. For example, concessions for buyer closing costs and so forth. This change will go in effect mid-July, so 2024 this year. And remember, this still needs court approval, so things may slightly change. For the most part, most people are saying that it's going to remain the same. Now, there's a second part to this. Written agreement for MLS participants acting for buyers. You've got require, that's in blue in that teal that I highlighted, require MLS participants working with buyers to enter into written representation agreements with buyers. Here's the thing with this, with that last part. First off, you can't offer a percentage. So you either have to negotiate this outside with the sellers. I'll give you some options that we've come up with as I've been in meetings all morning and afternoon on this. So we've got some solutions here. I'm all about solutions. This isn't complicated. It's amazing. Here's the thing though. If you're thinking about the buyer-broker agreements, there are certain things that may affect companies like Zillow, Realtor.com, and even some home builders, because the way that we function is we have most of our business comes from referrals from past clients, Sphere, and other agents, agent to agents. I put that into one bucket, and most agents are the same, referrals. My second big bucket are online leads, but from Google and Facebook. They're more top of funnel, middle of funnel. That means they take a longer time to get to where they're going. The important thing about them is that they haven't gone to Zillow or Redfin or Realtor.com. They don't have an agent. So that means when they get to me, since everyone I work with now has to have a buyer-broker agreement, by the time they get to Zillow, Redfin, Realtor.com, they already have something signed with me. And if by any chance they get to Zillow, Realtor.com, Redfin, how many times have those companies sent out leads to multiple agents that have already registered? You see that pool shrinking? Yeah, that's what's going to happen there too. So I see it as an opportunity. Google, PPC, pay-per-click, right? Even Zillow, Realtor.com, Homes.com, and all these other companies do heavy pay-per-click because it's middle of funnel, right? So there's that piece. Now, there's another piece to this. And this is the other article that I want to share with you, also from NAR, right? And this one was sent to us real estate agents, realtors specifically. And I highlighted here, but I'm going to unhighlight it just so I can read it with you because it's a little blurry on my part. It's the blue section. You know what? I'll leave it highlighted. This is the implication for members. It says, there will continue to be many ways in which brokers could be compensated. And they're giving us options here, including through offers of compensation communicated off MLS. Has to be off the MLS. We know that. As we have long believed, that is in the interest of the seller, buyers, and their brokers to make offers of compensation. They're saying, hey, it was never 6%, right? It was never 5%. It's negotiable. It's been negotiable this whole time. But using the MLS to communicate offers of compensation would no longer be an option. Great, awesome. Let's figure this out now. It says the types of compensation available for buyer brokers would continue to take multiple forms, depending on broker-consumer negotiations, including but not limited to, here are the options they gave us: fixed fee commission paid directly by the consumer. So do you remember where we were reading that earlier, where it said all of these lower priced companies that are competing for the bottom, those will pop up? Yes. But what happens with those? They typically suck. And they offer buyers terrible service. And what happens then? More complications, right? In the future, a lot more lawsuits. Now let's look at the second option here that they give us. Concessions from the seller, which is what was happening before, right? What we're thinking is, well, why not just go to the seller and say, hey, this is what we charge. If a buyer's agent comes through, they submit their broker buyer compensation agreement and they want a certain amount. Well, you know what? I'll reduce my commission and there you go. It goes to them. You can pay them directly. And we left it off the MLS and what? It's the same damn thing we've been doing. Just changes the process slightly. Last one, it says portion of the listing broker's compensation. Yeah, that's what we've been doing. But we just leave it off the MLS. It's ridiculous. That's what this is. Look, this is what's going to happen. You're going to have buyers think that they might be getting a deal, going directly to the sellers, and then forgetting that they're being represented by one party and saying, hey, wait a second. Smart agents are like, do you really want to be represented by the same person? They have a fiduciary duty to the seller. What about you? Even though I'm California, I can do dual agency, no problem. There's a lot of stuff going on here, and I'm just trying to show you that there are opportunities. You just have to take a look at this with a different lens and say, oh, I got it. It's just semantics. It's practically the same thing. The attorneys that went for this lawsuit were after money. That's what it was. Got it. So we ended up in the same place practically. But the media coverage of this is wild. Let's see what some questions are. So listing agents are going to have 50 calls from agents to find out compensation, right? Isn't that crazy? That's true. And another one says, they're just making another unprotected class. That is so true. Very true. We got to talk, man, because it's been like, oh, Australia, what's up? Yes. Listen, a lot is changing, but at the same time, it's not. I want you to pay attention as all of the information comes up, because it's 108 pages. And there's no way I read through all that. But we did have different meetings with leadership of different brokerages in NAR, attorneys. That's all I've been on this morning with top agents. And so we all came to the conclusion, for the most part, that it's business as usual. But I want to remind you of something. This is a relationship business. Whoever tries to come at us, whatever they try to change, at the end of the day, those people that have the relationships win. With things moving and changing so fast with AI and tech, remember one thing, and I'll leave you with this. And I mentioned this yesterday in a talk I did live. As we move closer to becoming like the Jetsons, it's the people that function like the Flintstones who are going to win. Why? Because we're slowing down enough to create long-lasting relationships. That's what matters. That's never going to change. Thank you for joining. If you have any questions, pop them in here, message me. I'll keep you updated as things change here as well. Have an awesome day.